Hello. Let's see. So, good morning or good afternoon, wherever it is that you are in your day or your life. Thank you for being here. This is off the cuff, but intended to be an introduction. My name is Jen. I am the nerd in charge. I teach courses on marketing, and I'm overwhelmed by the amount of people that I meet that need these skills, have these skills hidden somewhere, and are covered by confidence, and could use these skills to become financially free and support themselves. So I'm going to pop up some screenshots in after production here, and I will be reading them off of this other fancy phone that I have here during this little talk, because I want three things to be aware today. I do believe that we are unaware of where we've come from and how far we've come from to get to where we are, and we need a reminder sometimes of how great we are. I also firmly believe that we do not know the tools that we have available to us or what is available to you as a human on this planet for things that you could do to support yourself, because we're told other things. We're not exactly given the confidence or the skills or the knowledge or the history or the truth to make our own decisions and do them out of knowledge instead of survival or fear. So, again, thank you for being here. If I've tailored my algorithm correctly, you are probably someone who has survived something and you are in some sort of a recovery status, whether that is from a relationship, a trafficking situation, or something in between. And you need a pick me up, a boost, and a way out of the doldrums. If you are below that spot, if you cannot so much as fathom getting things together right now to create a business because it's too far in the future past healing, I have a couple coaches I want you to talk to. They have a lot of free education on here. And then also seek advice from, your therapist and your doctor, because this is not intended to be any legal advice, medical advice, or anything. Read the disclaimers on our channel. So this episode of Let's Hash It Out is a little bit of an introduction to who we are, who I am, a little bit of a discussion, and then also a little bit of a leader for if you know somebody, or if you are somebody who needs to become financially free, make your own decisions, work with people that you like, and do something that's not going to cause you stress in terms of somebody else controlling what it is you do for your money, and maybe you don't get your money and that's a problem, then this is a course for you, and I want to talk about it and the reason why. So my 3-minute intro went a little long. Thank you for still being here. If you are like me, you probably are a little bit apprehensive about AI tools. The AI tool industry hit hard a few years ago, and I find it annoying that a lot of business owners don't know what's available to them because of that. And then a lot of the millennial business owners or Gen Z business owners are skyrocketing past some of these seasoned business owners, and they don't seem to understand how. And that's creating a confidence disconnect. It's creating a deep well of the wrong things that you need in order to be a successful business. In my other world, I preach less stress, more facials. I teach estheticians to get off the doom scroll and either hire a team to do it or do it themselves with less stress. But the whole idea of marketing your business is not supposed to be, and it has become that way. But also, the marketing manager industry has kind of become that way too. And there's so many of them, and they're so different in what they say will work for you because that's the product they're selling, and that's difficult too. And so in my world of working with a lot of women business owners, it's just commonplace to me that powerful women who have thoughts and ideas should be heard, and what we do is put it in a pretty package so it can be heard by a lot more people that would really want to hear it. We don't do the fake marketing, we don't buy bots, we don't buy followers, we don't do any of the fake trending stuff that's going to grab the wrong attention. And it's kind of gotten us a good reputation in many industries, and we are referred, and we don't have to promote ourselves using social media. So we teach offline options of marketing. We manage your social media if you need it. We build your whole web presence. And I've learned to do that because I had to. I had to do that to create a business that I could work for as a single mother who was homeschooling an ill child who was also, because I was starting my own business, couldn't find online jobs. There wasn't, I mean, internet was a big thing, but it wasn't like you had to pay a lot for it. We had somewhat fast internet. I didn't have great tools. I wasn't a web designer. I knew how to write. That was it. And it was way before AI tools were around that you could just type in a prompt and boom, you have an essay. So this was back when we actually had to put thoughts onto paper and then type them. And then it turned into putting thoughts into a document, Word doc or text editor or MS-DOS. So I've been putting thoughts into computers for a long time. And there's a lot of business owners, especially very well-seasoned marketing business companies, whether they're agencies or freelancers or whatever in between, who've been doing this for a very long time, and that's, from 2019. I've literally been building websites since GeoCities and AngelFire. I literally was the person people came to code their MySpace, okay? So, like, before there was a way to make these things a business, I kind of became that person. And that is a key that I don't think people take seriously enough, and they wait for that immediate success. They have to get successful. They have to hit their $100,000 this month. They have to do all these big things that set the goal a little high, and then they forget about the consistency. And if there's one thing that I've done differently than any of the competitors I've ever met is I'm consistent. I have my same clients for 6+ years. I have my same clients who have referred other people. I have my same network of things that I'm posting for people daily, their strategy, for a long time. I work with people for a while, and that doesn't happen if you're not consistent, you don't provide results, and you usurp funds. And as a marketing agency who works with multiple marketing professionals, and we freelance, we white label, we do all the fun things, and we connect the dots for a lot of business owners from Fortune 500 and corporate level, all the way down to I just need a few appointments a week. Those marketing managers who are just coming off the cuff, wanting to make $1 bajillion, going in these groups and seeing the average social media budget for a company needs to be between $700 and $3,700 or whatever it is, $4,000 to $15,000 for social media. And you can charge anything you want to under that, and you will be the bottom rung. So some people aren't going to choose your services. But let me ask you, and I think I know who I'm talking to here. If you could use your phone, make some great images, grab some cool content, put some really pretty words on screen, post it 6 to 12 times, make a couple reels on some cool apps, with content that a cool person who loves their business took for you, and you put it together and you put it out there, and then you see cool people are commenting and wanting to buy from her, so you get jazzed up and you answer their comment in another reel. And then you see that really cool people like what she did there, so you make a post about it, and it becomes easy, and you get it done in like 1 or 2 hours a week, 1 or 2 hours a month, and you can schedule that stuff out. And that business owner needs you, because she can't do that. She can make the thing, she can do the thing, but talking about the thing, putting pictures up about her doing the thing, she can't do that. She doesn't want to do that. But you could do that, and you like doing that, and it jazzes you up when the thing that you like doing gets some comments and makes her some business. So what you could do is create a business that is a marketing professional, team, worker, agent, freelancer, helper, assistant. I don't care what you call yourself. Do some things for some people that they need done, that they don't want to do, but they know that they need, and charge less than everybody else in the industry who has an overinflated ego and wants to supply a lot of words for a lot of dollars without a lot of results. You just have to come somewhere in the middle, provide a whole lot of results and be a little bit affordable. Not cheap. Do not be cheap. But you also don't have to come out the gate saying you're a marketing agency and charge $15,000 a month because 25,000 women in a marketing group said that's the average. Is it the average? Is that the average that the everyday spa owner is paying for their marketing? They maybe make $4,000 to $5,000 a month, and they're going to pay you to post $15,000 a month. Is that the average? No, it's the average for a specific clientele in a specific industry, and there's a bajillion other businesses. So I'm here today to inspire you to think outside of the box of what women can do, what women couldn't do, what women are allowed to do, and do what you need to do for the other people that you work for and with. Create your own business, own your own game, and love what you do for people that love what they do and need what you do. That's niching, right? We talk about niching. We need to niche down. Out of all the things you can provide for people and do for people, do something that they need, that they want to pay for, that you can do easily. Okay, so I'm going to move on. I gave that point. We're good. So I use Chat GPT a lot. There's like I started this out with, there's a disconnect between people in my age who are using it, people in the lower ages who have incorporated it into their brains, and then people who are above my age, 50s, 60s, who have just said, no, I'm never touching those tools. They're going to take us over. Have you seen The Matrix? So there's a big disconnect in the business world about AI tools, and that's why you can call me your AI handler. So I take these AI tools and I go, whoa, that was some shit you put out there. Why'd you do that? And they apologize to me daily. But today I liked what it had to say, so we're going to go over it. And if you're just joining me, this is the let's hash it out portion of that whole inspirational thing about you becoming a marketing manager. Because I think sometimes people don't realize the power of what they can do with what's available for them for 5 people around them. It's not such a big deal. You don't have to be a marketing agency that works for everybody in the world and you're the best one on the planet. Just have to be really great for 5 people that want to pay you $400 or $500 a month, $300 to $400 a month, $500, $600 a month. That's a really good budget for a lot of marketing budgets for companies. Did you know that? Before I go into all this, did you know that a company is supposed to budget their annual expenditure about 10 to 15% for marketing? And marketing includes not just you posting their Instagram, but also their website, their business cards, their flyers, any advertising dollars, in-house, out-house. Is there any sort of flyers they've printed to go pay to have all of the things to promote the business? Even so much as like sometimes marketing parties where you're throwing a free gig so that you can get leads in the door. Those are marketing budgets. And someone who is supposed to be doing business and has a plan should be budgeting between 10 to 25 or 10 to 15% of their annual income, what they're bringing in for their business. And then in projection style, they're supposed to budget 10 to 15% of what they want to bring in order to reach that goal. So if you are making $1,000 a month, 10% is $100. So you should be spending at least $100 to make $1,000 a month or more to keep that going. Is the average and what you're supposed to do. Can you imagine someone who's making $10,000 a month, what their budget is? $1,000. They're supposed to spend $1,000 a month in marketing in order to maintain that $100,000 or more, because the goal is to grow. So what a lot of people do is in the beginning, they'll spend more like 15, 25% to get big. They'll get seen, they'll get a brand, they'll get known, they'll become a local celebrity, and then they tailor off and they put that 10 or 15% more into a focused, targeted ad campaign with some social media maintenance and then, a nice website update, and that's how you tailor a budget. But as a marketing manager who could charge these things, every company is supposed to spend at least $500 to $1,000 a month on marketing if they want to survive in the business world. I mean, who's making $12,000 a year only and surviving? Don't you know some people who have a good business that need more business, who's already in the 400,000 range, like 300,000? Service businesses, plumbers. Some of y'all are making quite a lot of money and you could make more, and your budget could go in places to scale or sell things that are adjacent to your services so that it scales more money that you're bringing in and not the service that you physically have to provide. So it's where you tailor your budget, where you're putting it, what your goals are. Do you know how many business owners I've met that say, I can only spend $300 a month on marketing. It's to maintain the look that I'm alive and I'm here. I don't need any new clients. And if they order some things, that's great. I'm really busy by word of mouth. But if my clients don't know that I'm still here, then sometimes they don't book. So I just need you to post some quotes and things like that, and we're good to go. And, I welcome new business, but I don't need it. Those are the clients that could pay you $200-$300 a month and don't really care so much. But you could also work for a client that wants to scale, and you say, look, I'll start you out at $300, $400, $500 a month. We'll do this. And then around this month, I want to start doing this. It's going to cost about this, but we'll do more. And then you can say, look, once you've got all those extras coming in, let me know and we'll start an ad campaign. So you could become somebody who is able to wrangle the whole marketing department of a very small business and scale them. And then maybe they don't need your services anymore because they sell their business. But in the meantime, that 5 years of paying you a good amount every month to do something, they would have to hire in-house $20 to $40 an hour minimum for 40 hours a week with benefits and salaries. and you're charging $500 or $600 a month, which is great for you because you can do that for 3 or 4 other people, make a really good salary every month. They all get what they need and they're saving money and you're doing things. So you can fill your business with 4 to 5 clients. Use your phone, do it on the go, on vacation, on the boat, on the dock, wherever it is you are. Find clients you like. You need to be willing to be consistent. You need to be willing to handle some things that are stressful that your clients don't want to handle. You need to be willing to understand that sometimes the client doesn't know what they want and you need to be the expert. And you need to do a little bit of research to find out what things are being charged in your industry. But otherwise, there's a need for you as a good marketing manager, and there's a need for you to be involved in a network like ours, like Facet Hub, who is connecting a lot with business owners who need marketing managers, that we can spotlight you and say, you know, you can go out and search and choose who you want to, but this person right here, I know that they think the right way about stuff. I know that they love to promote the right business. And I say that in a way that, like, there's a lot of shady businesses out there that are shady because their whole purpose is shady. And those people, we don't need to spend our time marketing for them. If your soul is torn by working for a company who's not owned by good purposes, you don't have to take that client. You don't have to niche in that way. And this is a very good way to support small business, support business owners you love, and work in a way that helps the local economy in your community grow and survive. I mean, if you're promoting the local grocery store, the local gas station, and the local such and such, you know, restaurant, cafe, then the Dollar General, who doesn't need to advertise and they're always really busy, is going to have a little bit of a dip in their stuff because all the tourists who find your town, all the locals who forgot about that gas station, you know, whatever it is, are stopping in there more because of your fun little marketing that you're doing. So they're getting more traffic. The chains are still making dollars, but they got to up their notch. You're making a difference by being a good marketing manager for these business owners. Our team is large and has scaled and has done this for multiple people, and we have a lot of people that we can lean on for your marketing team. We take the corporate clients now. We take the large clients who have a lot of other clients that need help, and we wrangle those businesses. I need more people like you that can do these small companies who need a hands-on approach, a couple hours a month, that really changes the course of their business, because that's what changes the world, okay? And when I say change the world, let me actually get down to it. We're 20 minutes in. That was a nice intro. So I use ChatGPT, Copy AI sometimes, and Grok on Twitter. I use them because what they do is allow you to type in a prompt and organize your thoughts with its help. And you don't really have to get stuck in those writer's blocks. Sometimes you know what you want to say, and as soon as that pen gets to paper, you're like, I don't remember how to spell that. What was I supposed to spell? Oh, I'm so stupid. I can't spell that. Do you know how easy it is to Google a question now? I hope you do. Some people can't Google, and if you can't Google, then you can't chat GPT. We'll talk about that in a different discussion. But if you can Google, I have this thought, and I don't know what I'm asking, but what are your responses? Like, you can Google things like that. It'll send you 100 million responses, and you can click there, and then you can kind of find what you want to use on Google and tailor your other search. Oh, that's what I was thinking for. I'm going to write this. What is the such and such? Because you learned it by searching first what you were thinking, right? If you can do that, then you can use an AI prompt tool. You just type in the box. If you don't know what you're asking, you just heard somebody say something and you want to know more about it, you can just type in the box what you think they said. Some of them, you can click the button and allow them to talk, and you can actually like, and it'll tell you stuff, okay? But you have to wrangle it because it has lied to me. It has told me that I'm a conspiracy theorist when there's actual physical proof and documentation, and then it's apologized to me for saying conspiracy theorist because that was misleading and causing, well, anyway, so you have to handle your AI tool. But what it is very good at is organizing thoughts, organizing research that you could look at. And something I found interesting, since I'm talking to some women business owners, some future women business owners, is that AI has a lot of information about women. And I don't know if you know this, but women back in the 70s, 60s, 50s, way before that, couldn't have a bank account and couldn't own a house. Some of them couldn't drive. My grandmother, when her husband died in a tragic accident, I want to say that was 1957, she had to learn how to drive, had bought her first car, bought her first house with his, whatever, life insurance, whatever. Otherwise, he had done everything, you know? And I think she was probably in her 30s when that, so she was born in 33, and that was 56. She was 34 when the accident happened, so she was 34 years old, didn't drive, hadn't owned a home, didn't have a bank account, probably. I mean, she might have had one in his name that she paid the bills out of. So that's an interesting discussion. That's about 100 years ago now, 50, 60 years ago. My grandmother didn't know how to drive at 34, and I'm 38, and I've been driving since 16. Things have changed, okay? Women have changed. It says, I said, when were women allowed to have their own bank account? The timeline for women were allowed to have their own bank account varies by country, but here are some key milestones. In the United States, women began gaining more financial rights in the 60s and 70s. The passage of Equal Opportunity Act of 1974 was a significant turning point. 1974. Okay? This law made it illegal for banks to deny credit or a bank account to women based on gender or marital status. So you could, before that, walk into a bank and say, "Hi, I want to have a loan for this business, buy this car, do this thing. I want to, whatever." And they could say, "No, you're a woman. Bye." So in 1974, that became not allowed. So they could still do it, but they could get repercussions from it now. And it said this law made it illegal for banks to deny credit or a bank account to women based on gender or marital status, allowing women to open their own bank account without the need of a male co-signer. Not just like, who else can vouch for you? You got a grandma, you got an aunt, you got some rich cousin that can be a co-signer. No, a male co-signer in 1974. Okay, so the United Kingdom was the first step forward to financial independence for women became with the Married Women's Property Act of 1870, like 100 years prior, which allowed women to keep earnings or inheritances in their name, which is what I think happened to my grandmother. He passed away. Now she's a widow. They allowed it in those cases. However, it wasn't until the 1970s in the UK that women could more freely open a bank account without a male guarantor. Sorry, I need my coffee. Other countries. The progression varied significantly around the world. In some places, legal restrictions on women's financial rights persisted well into the 20th century. For example, in France, women gained the right to open a bank account without their husband's permission in 1965. We say they're the progressives. They're the ones that know. 5 years earlier. In 5 years earlier, they allowed women to have a bank account. How long has the earth been here? Were women and men on the earth together at the same time? So in 1965 AD is when they deemed that women were smart enough to handle a bank account. When were women allowed to buy a house? This one was interesting. The ability for women to buy a house in their own name also varied depending on the country, but it generally followed a similar timeline to the progress in financial rights. Here are some key points. In the United States, women in the U.S. faced significant barriers to buying property until the 60s and 70s with the Equal Opportunity Act of 1974, which was a landmark that allowed women to obtain mortgages and credit without needing a male cosigner or husband's permission. Before this act, women often had to rely on their husbands or a male relative financial backing to secure a loan or a mortgage. Now, if you are a target individual, we talk about that in a different situation. They've kind of taken us back to that stage, and that's another reason why this course and what I do is very important. So if that's you and you're like, but that still happens, okay, let's talk about that over here. I'm talking about now, like in general, women have gained a little bit more independence in the last few years, and we can do a whole lot, but it hasn't been long. Hasn't been long at all. The United Kingdom, in the UK, Married Women's Property Act of 1882 was a significant step as it gave married women the right to own and control property in their own name. However, despite this legal right, many women still face discrimination from lenders until the 1970s. What was it that, like in the 1870s, they were like, let's let women do things, and then it stopped, and then in the 1970s, it all like, let's let women do that. It was like 100 years. What happened? We're at like 100 years of like the Great Depression and the World Wars and stuff like that right now. So are we getting ready to do those again? Weird. Other countries. The timeline for women to purchase property independently varied greatly worldwide. For example, in France, women were allowed to work without their husband's permission and have their own bank accounts starting in 1965. We heard that, which facilitated their abilities to buy property. In other cultures, the legal barriers remained in place for much longer. While legal right to own property existed in many places much earlier, it wasn't until the 20th century with changes in credit laws that financial regulations, women could practically be independent without a male's intervention. How sweet. Why? What did we do wrong before that? Was it because we were crazy? I think it's because we were witches. They were worried what we would do with the property. We'd probably go buy chickens and, grow herbs and things. So when were they allowed to drive? I'll go quick here. It says the timeline for women allowed to drive in countries and laws varies, depends on customs and societal norms. Here are some key examples. In the United States, women have been able to drive since the advent of the automobile in the 19th and early 20th centuries. There were no laws specifically prohibiting women from driving, although social norms sometimes discouraged it. United Kingdom and Europe, like in the US, women in the UK of Europe and much of Europe were generally allowed to drive as soon as cars became widely available. In the early 20th century, there were no legal restrictions based solely on gender, but societal expectations could still play a role in limiting women's driving. So societal expectations are what we have to deal with a lot here. Laws, yes, but also what other people and women shame each other into believing for a long time. Other countries. In many parts of the world, we skipped the one. Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia was the last country in the world to lift its ban on women driving. Women were officially allowed to drive starting on June 24th, 2018, after a royal decree issued by King Salman in 2017, which was a significant milestone in the country's progress towards gender equality. 2018. Other countries, many parts of the world, women have faced religious and cultural pressures that discourage them from driving even if there was no explicit legal ban. In these regions, the ability for women to drive often depended on social acceptance rather than legal rights. And even in America, we talk about how bad of drivers women are. I think there's a stigma that's still around today. And not all women are bad drivers, and even if some women are bad drivers, some men are too. So it's interesting that it's such a stigma on women. We might be different drivers. We might not be the best long haul or toy haulers or whatever. And men and women always have differences. But I find it interesting these societal norms from way back are still carried through with our common insults today that we give people. So the history of women working. So I asked, when were women allowed to have jobs and pay taxes? I ask this because I'm sitting here like, so since the dawn of time, women have been expected to do all of these things in the household, and that's what it said. Women have worked a lot, but it's always been domestic. So we're allowed to do a lot of things. They think our muscles are great for going and harvesting or making bread or having children, but we can't be trusted with a bank account. We can't be trusted with our own brains. We can't be trusted with jobs. We can't be trusted with things. We can't be trusted to buy houses or money. So we are very important, very valuable, but we're not smart and not capable for like 1970 years. So I wondered, at what point did they find us capable enough to use our labor and then have us pay taxes? And this was interesting. So the history of women working and paying taxes has evolved over centuries and widely varies by country and societal norms. Employment. The United States and Europe, 19th and early 20th centuries. Women have always participated in various forms of work, but the nature of their employment was often restricted to roles like domestic work, teaching, nursing, or factory work. It wasn't until the late 19th or early 20th century that women began to enter a broad range of professions due to industrialization and growing movements for women's rights. So our first amount of women's rights was I can earn money. I can go out and use my hours, my time, my stress, my brain, my muscles, and you can pay me. But I'm not allowed to put that money in a bank account that I own. I'm not allowed to use that money to go buy a car, drive a house, buy a house. So they can use my time and energy, and I can support our family. But I'm not allowed to do things with it, but I can pay taxes on it, so they can earn. The government can earn on that. So that's interesting too. During the World Wars is when women took on a significant number of jobs, and those were previously held by men. So, oh, hey, now we need you. You are now capable. After the wars, while some women returned to traditional roles, many continued working, which laid the groundwork for future gender equality in employment. So I'm glad there's gender equality in employment, because I personally like being able to go do work, get paid, be independent, and I love that. And I also like to be able to create a business, get paid, and be independent. So I love that there's gender equality in employment. I'm not discounting that. What I'm discounting is the fact that it took until 1970 for us to say women were smart enough to be able to drive. Women were smart to have a bank account. I guess it was roughly around the same time as the men went away to war that we were okay to drive. But when it takes until 1965 in France for women to be able to buy a house. But since the dawn of time, we've been able to go get a job and earn something for it for our families. That's an interesting, not equal thing. So let's talk about paying taxes. The history of women paying taxes is tied down to their ability to earn income and own property. In many countries, once women began working or owning property in the 19th century, they were also subject to paying taxes just like men. So in the United States, women who earned income were required to pay taxes from the time income taxes were first introduced in 1913, following the ratification of the 16th Amendment. Read your constitutions, guys. However, if a woman was married, her income was typically combined with her husband's for tax purposes, which we still do today, which sometimes affected the amount they owed. In the United States, or in the United Kingdom, similar to other countries, women were allowed to earn income or own property. They were also expected to pay taxes on their earnings or assets. So, as you saw here, it would be combined with their man's money. So they couldn't have a bank account. So it wasn't their own earnings. If he made a lot, she paid a lot, and he controlled it all. And the government took from her work for his accounts and made more money off of it. And she still wasn't allowed to have a debit card and say, I want to go to Walmart. He could have his money and he could go to the brothel, or he could go to the bar, or he could go to the grocery store, but she couldn't. She could take his card if he allowed it, because she wasn't valuable enough to have a bank account, but she was valuable enough to work and pay taxes. Legal and social barriers, up until the 20th century, blah, 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 blah. It wasn't until independence being removed in Western countries in the 60s and 70s, which is still in some countries looked at as way too liberal. Women doing all that stuff over there in those Western countries is way not cool. That's interesting, because a lot of you Gen Zs think like you own the world and you're awesome and stuff at 12 as a female. You're not even allowed to breathe in other countries. It's interesting. It's very interesting. What do we know about our history? What do we know about women being able to vote? Women being able to have their own say in their medical records? Women being able to say, I don't want to be committed to a mental facility and have a lobotomy because my husband says I'm crazy that he's having an affair. It's interesting the amounts of things that women aren't allowed to do. And without going too far, it's interesting what we've been trained to forget, that we could easily look up for ourselves and be like, whoa, that's happening again today. Whoa, that's weird. I mean, it's interesting, the debate about this abortion thing, and I'm not going to get into it, like what I believe or not, because it is what it is, but you can look up a lot of stuff that's being sent out on these political flyers through ChatGPT and say, can you tell me, like I'm 5, what this law means? Can you tell me what the overturning of this was? Can you tell me the ramifications per state? If I want to do this and I'm in this state, what's legal now? You can look that up and it can talk to you now. So the fact that we are ignorant and we are just listening to what other people are saying in 2024 kind of sort of proves why these things happened, where we weren't allowed to have our own independence until the 60s and 70s. But that's not a female male thing. That's a I choose not to pay attention. I choose not to research. I choose not to believe this or that or whatever is, but I will believe what's paid for and put in front of me. Paid advertisement for this political campaign. I'm going to believe it because I see it in paper in front of me and I can touch it. Maybe that's why we weren't allowed to have bank accounts. Anyway, it's an interesting situation there, but and then I asked another one. I forgot about this one. So this one, I'm not taking any sort of stance on this, and I want zero hate from this, because I don't hate people. I don't. I hate evil. And if you are evil, then I have no qualms about hating that, but I don't hate people. So I asked, why are there laws for men and women but not non-binary or any other gender? And it says, laws have historically been created based on the binary concept of gender, categorizing people as either male or female. This approach is largely rooted in cultural, religious, and societal norms that have existed for centuries, which primarily recognized only 2 genders. Here's why this case has been the case and how things are changing. Historical norms and traditions. Many societies around the world have long adhered to binary understanding of gender, linking it directly to biological sex. Legal systems developed within these frameworks, resulting in laws, policies, and social structures that were specifically tailored to the roles and expectations of men and women. Lack of representation. Non-binary, genderqueer, and other gender identities have not been widely recognized or accepted in many cultures until relatively recently. Without the visibility or representation in politics, activism, or public discourse, these identities were often overlooked in the creation of laws and policies. I think that's the same debate as why women didn't get the ability to vote or have a bank account or all these other things, because if they weren't allowed a seat at the boardroom, then they weren't allowed a seat at making of the bylaws or the laws or the amendments. How many women ratified the Constitution? So it's just interesting to think about these things when we think about who's making decisions for me. And then we think about, it has to be the government is going to make decisions for me because they'll be fair. Okay. Changes and progress in recent years. There's been growing recognition of non-binary and other gender identities in legal systems around the world. Legal recognition, non-discrimination laws, inclusive language. That's where there's been an issue, though. The inclusive language situation has been demonized and made punishable as if it's racial slurs and things like that, when there's other things that people do to people that are not demonized, not looked at, not even discussed, because it's, free speech. But if I don't call the right gender to somebody, they can get me in trouble and fine me. I might not know the gender of you. I might not know the gender that you have decided to be today, and that's fine. And I might be a dick for misinterpreting that, and free speech, right? I don't think people should be dicks to each other, but I also don't think that if I mistakenly call you something that isn't legally, historically recognized, I shouldn't be able to get a fine for that. That seems like censorship and programming control of laws made by men, instead of just freedom. Because if everything was free and everybody could be who they wanted to be, then you could walk down the street and be, Sally Blue Hair and say, I'm Sally Blue Hair, and I will have to call you Sally Blue Hair now because that's how I know you. And I don't have any judgments about that because I know you as Sally Blue Hair, and that's how I know you. Doesn't matter. It's when we start categorizing, labeling, putting things into laws and restrictions, and we don't tell people the truth, and we only have certain people making these laws and restrictions, that we end up ostracizing people. That never works out well. So I think we've hashed out enough here. This is a nice 43-minute episode today. Thank you for being here with me today. Thank you for listening and wanting to dive more into the world of thought. And if you know anybody who you think should take our course on becoming a marketing manager, just drop me a line somewhere. I'm on The Nerd in Charge on X. You can also find me at facetsofhospitality.com/tech support, and that'll get help for your web presence, but you can submit a question there too. So reach out, let me know what you need, let me know what you have questions for. If you want to learn how to use AI tools and ask them questions, I have an AI prompt book. It's launching on Amazon soon, so hopefully by the time you're watching it, there will be a link you can buy. Otherwise, I have it available in PDF. Just email me. I can sell you that. It's $9.99 for the PDF, and you get that. And it's got the journal in the back that you can print it out if you want to and write your own AI prompts. Put it in a PDF editor and copy paste your own AI prompts, and then save it as a new PDF with your stuff in it because it has the prompt journal in the back. So there's a lot to it that I want to help you with as a human with confidence in the world. And I also want to make sure that if you need to run a business, if you need to survive a life, if you need to recover from something, if you need to breeze through the bullshit of the industry. Hi, I'm Jen. Nice to meet you. You can find me at, like I said, The Nerd in Charge, or follow us on our podcast for all the different kinds of fun stuff. And if you're watching this on Facets of Inspiration TV, thank you for being here. I appreciate you.